World Development System. Chapter 221. One of the spies was trying to create a ruckus when the war was taking place. What is this? We are not being allowed entry into North? We have the right to know about the activities taking place over there. What if our lives are in danger? I can see several going there but none of them coming back apart from the officials and all the important officers. The action very much upset the mood of people as they were already tensed. At this time, Sparrow signaled one of the officers and told to capture him. Capture him, the reason for his arrest is bribery. I was waiting for a long time to use these pretenses over these guys. Take these evidence and these are names of the witnesses required. Almost immediately the guy was arrested on the past charges so that he couldn't create any chaos. During this time, Jay and the Ghosts too were rounding up the spies who were trying to create chaos as the northern domain headed into war. Jay gave orders in the police headquarters, don't spare anyone who tries to create chaos, especially the ones who resort to violence or tries to incite violence. Check the records if you think someone is influenced by the spies. Only target the spies. As for the guys who are influenced, capture them and tell them about the activities of the spies. Melanie and Vlad sighed as they heard John's decision to secede in the meeting which was announced by Taylor. Melanie spoke, I never thought he would be this bold. Vlad smiled as he remembered his old conversation with John. I pretty much had a hint when I conversed with him about the ballistas. I never expected him to create such weapons. I guess he always had big plans. King Ludwin's ambassador was seriously looking at the report which was given to them by Jonas. It seems this was the reason why we lost several ships at North. Lord Jonas, thanks for your valuable information and report. We will always remember this debt. We will be attacking that settlement in 2 days. I will be leaving for now. If you want you can join us later on. It seems that Count thinks that he is something. This time he would be facing a kingdom. The ambassador nodded as he left for the port and headed towards Dwarven Kingdom. Jonas smiled as he saw the ambassador leaving. He smiled and ordered his subordinate, prepare the navy and scout the waters in the east. We will be attacking that settlement with them. This is our chance to dominate the waters. Stephen Longman was currently viewing the receding army of Prince Hector and Duke Fjord as he heard explosions taking place at the borders of Dolores. It was night currently as the battle progressed slowly and steadily. He spoke to one of his mates from the castle jails. Now, this is our chance. Try to open the gates and gather the guys who are loyal to Baron Mendes. This will be our chance to free him and all the other political prisoners. All the soldiers belonging to Prince Hector has left. It seems Count John's men are taking their sweet time to invade Dolores. Go to work, we don't miss this chance. We have a deal with Count John so don't worry about them. At the same time, Antonio was flabbergasted as he saw his panicked men. His commander asked with a panicked expression, Lord, what do we do? Those ballistas aren't working at all. They are attacking us from quite a distance and we can't target them. They have also destroyed most of the ballistas. With a serious face, Antonio remarked as a thought ran through his mind, we are running. We can't win against this army and those weapons. Even Lord Irwin's army faced a massacre against those demonic weapons. The commander was shocked as he immediately asked him, Lord, what about the people of Dolores? With a resolute face Antonio spoke, fuck them, my life is more important. You think they will spare you? Just remember the previous massacre of mercenaries and you will get the result. The commander shivered as he remembered and agreed with Antonio. Suddenly there were sounds of gates opening as Amber's men slowly approached the gates. Panicked Antonio roared as he saw the gates opening, what the hell, who opened the gates? Damn it, we don't have time. We need to leave fast. As Prince Hector's army receded slowly, Alistair smiled as he looked at the explosions that were taking place at Dolores. He looked back at the gates with a cunning smile and murmured, you see, I know what you would do and I like crushing that very hope of your survival. Same goes to everyone who has crossed me. A lot of people in Dolores were in chaos as they looked for authorities. What is happening? Are we at war? Why are the soldiers leaving? Is the Lord deserting us without fighting? Another guy spoke as he heard the explosions. What are those weird explosions? Lord Irwin gravely looked at the receding army of General Anak as he spoke. Bring in the messenger. Tell him to immediately report it to His Majesty. The situation is serious. Tell him about the casualties. We will be receding to Gritos. The subordinate gave another news. Lord, there is another news. Count John's another general, Amber has invaded the western part of Dolores. Irwin was alarmed as he knew the temper of Amber when he read his report. What? They dare invade Dolores? We can't leave, we need to at least save the prince. The messenger shook his head as he spoke. However, there is no need to panic, my lord. Prince Hector has escaped on the suggestion of his butler Alistair. They already left. It seems they invaded Dolores because Prince Hector and his army were attacking the western castles when we had launched an attack at southern castles. From the looks of it, they too suffered the same fate as we did. However, it seems they lost fewer men. Here is the letter from Lord Alistair. General Irwin sighed with relief as he heard about Prince Hector. He immediately took the letter and got to know about the current situation of Dolores. Irwin smiled as he spoke. It seems they have decided to abandon that fool. Okay, we shouldn't concern anymore. Dolores has fallen. We will recover it after the reserves arrive. Okay, time to spread it. Spread it everywhere in Dolores before we leave. Give it to the soldiers and slowly leave. We will be leaving at a fast pace now that they have invaded already. The subordinate smiled as he agreed and spoke. Okay, my lord. Now the real war starts. Stephen came near Baron Mendes's chamber and freed him after killing the guards who belonged to Antonio's camp. He ordered his men, free the lord fast while everyone is away. Yes, sir. Mendes coughed a bit, drank water, and immediately met Stephen. After watching Mendes in a rugged condition, Stephen asked, my lord, are you okay? Mendes shook his head and asked, we don't have time about that, what's the current situation? Tell me in detail. Longman slowly narrated the situation to Mendes, to which he was quite surprised. Count John's men have attacked the Dolores and the castle. We only accelerated it by opening all the gates. This gave us the chance to free you. After hearing the whole situation, Mendes understood what happened when he was in the chambers. He remarked as he heard the explosion which was taking place, situation is dire, come take me to the borders. He murmured as he left, it seems a lot of people have made their choices. I guess I need to make mine. That foolish son of mine can't even handle this domain for a few months. I guess he got played easily. Meanwhile, Amber was in debris as he and his men tried to escape Dolores and the whole northern domain. Amber was smiling as he caught Antonio and his men who were trying to escape. He thought as he pitifully looked at Antonio, I wonder who dug that trap for him. I guess he provoked someone and hence he failed to escape. Amber's subordinate spoke as he saw the back door of the castle which was filled with stone debris. Lord, I think it was the spies of Baron Mendes which Minister Taylor talked about, they were also the ones who opened the gates for us. Chapter 222. Antonio was angrily looking at Amber who was looking down on him. He angrily roared, how dare you, a lowly slave, treat me, a baron, this way? I have all the rights of a lord as a prisoner of war. You guys will pay for the heresy of invading Dolores and for treating me, a baron, this way. The royal family will make sure you guys pay for seceding. You guys especially will face the wrath of the royal family if I am not freed immediately fully with my rights. One of the veteran soldiers laughed as he heard the ranting of Antonio. This guy still thinks he is a baron. I guess he still doesn't know his situation. A young guy asked in confusion, is there any other situation apart from the fact that we own Dolores now? The veteran slapped his forehead and spoke, I guess you still don't understand anything. Okay, I will teach you now. Currently, Baron Mendes, who was in the cell previously, was freed with the help of our men and some of the loyal spies of Baron Mendes. What you don't know is, Antonio on the order of Prince Antonio usurped his father and took control and power in this domain. The newbie slapped his forehead as he understood just now. Ah, now I get it. Now, this would be interesting. Both Amber and his subordinate were looking Antonio with pity as they heard their ramblings. Amber smiled and spoke, "You see that receding army? It belongs to Lord Irwin. As far as Templars are concerned, they all died dog's death. You think they will come for your help? Not even their commander could get a glorious death. As for the remaining dogs of the Radiant Church, they are running for Radiant City straight." Even the Radiant Church receded immediately after hearing about the massacre of the Radiant Church. I think that guy called Francis was leading them back as he got some news via some channels. You see, when we decided to secede, we were fully prepared to face the royal family and the Radiant Church head-on. As far as you are concerned, it seems you still don't understand your pathetic situation. Do you think your status of a baron will work here? Nope, it won't. The Sky Kingdom won't be having any aristocracy. There will only be two pillars that will have power. One is the king and the other is the ministers. Antonio was quite shocked after hearing Amber's claim. What do you mean the Sky Kingdom? One of the soldiers, who was previously a slave, smiled and spoke, "Our kingdom. Don't you know we already seceded? Slavery is already abolished whether anyone likes it or not. I am quite glad that I decided to join King John's army. My family will be happy. There is one thing for sure, he fulfilled his promises to all the slaves in his domain." Amber spotted the spy Longman and Baron Mendes, who was coming with some men. Amber smiled as he spoke to Antonio, who was seething with anger and shock. "Ah, it seems Mr. Longman and Baron Mendes are coming this way. It doesn't matter whether you are with us or we give you to Baron Mendes. You were abandoned the moment when Prince Hector decided to escape with Duke Norman alone. As far as the Radiant Church is concerned, they didn't even inform you when they escaped. Well, your fate was sealed the moment you guys attacked the Western Castle. I guess they were smart when they decided to escape, or else we would have to mow this castle down completely." Amber immediately ordered his subordinate as they rounded up all the soldiers belonging to Antonio, "Loot all the food, supplies, resources, and the slaves. Don't loot the civilians, tell them they can join the Sky Kingdom if anyone wants to move there. I hope they are treated fairly. As far as the violent protesters are concerned, kick them in the jails. They can be freed when we leave." Amber smiled and continued, "I think you already know how to deal with protesters after watching their antics firsthand in North Frontier City. I think these guys will be mild." Amber's subordinate smiled and spoke, "Yes, sir. I think none of the guys would do any such thing because they know that we are invading army." As soon as Baron Mendes arrived, Amber asked him, "You know the conditions of your release, right?" Baron Mendes nodded and answered, "Yes." The first thing he did was slap his son, who was still fuming with rage. He sighed and slapped his son, who was still ignorant of present facts. "Now you understand why I said you don't understand politics? Where are your backers of whom you were so proud of? Understand this. You were simply a pawn in the hands of Duke Norman or Prince Hector. Your only value was this land which was coming between North Frontier City and Duke Norman's army, and also the fact that you were my son. You have really messed this up big time." Antonio understood that he was thrown like a chewed gun after his use was over, but his ego was too big to take this defeat. "No, it was the fault of that upstart and that slave who was always coming in my way." Baron Mendes sighed as he saw his son's stubborn attitude. He sighed and spoke to Antonio, "As promised, you guys can do whatever you want with him. My other son will be the new heir, though he is a bit coward, but he still has a calm head. I guess my aspiration of an aggressive son who knows no fear lead to this situation. As far as Antonio is concerned, if you don't kill him, I will certainly skin him alive." Looking at his father's attitude, Antonio was shocked as reality struck him for the first time after being abandoned. He thought, "No, this can't be happening, all of them are conspiring against me. I can't trust anyone." Mendes spoke for the first time in a very regretful tone to Antonio, Why are you shocked? The day you arrested me was the day you already became the pawn of others without any freedom to choose. You see, if you had arrested me only for gaining power, I wouldn't have minded about that, but the fact that you conspired against me under the influence of someone was the thing I hated the most. Amber smiled as he heard the one-sided rant of Baron against his son and answered, "Ah well, the deed has been done, we won't be killing this idiot, he will be useful. Lord wants everyone in the kingdom to see his fate at the hands of other aristocrats. He will be sent to Count Casey's domain in secret. Count Casey will cooperate as we have a deal with him, so you won't have to worry about him. I hope no one knows that he is in Casey's domain. Our spies will escort him to Lord Casey's domain with your men. You will have to use your most loyal men for this mission." My lord had predicted this outcome before the war started, and now he is sure that this idiot will most likely become the pawn after this secession, and this idiot Antonio will be blamed by everyone, i.e. Duke Norman, Prince Hector, Mary, Erwin, and everyone associated. However, my lord doesn't wish to end this problem for Hector and others in one shot by killing this idiot. He wants to make it more fun, and it seems you will also have to face a lot of problems as well because of it. The only thing you have to do is not let others use your land. We would be more glad to have fewer enemies. In exchange, we will have a good trading relationship which will benefit both of us if you wish so. My spy will escort you." Mendes sighed and understood what will happen. I guess they plan to reveal Antonio at the imperial capital via Count Casey when Antonio becomes the scapegoat. Well, this would be for the better. I hope Vince becomes a better heir after going through this ordeal. Mendes understood and nodded as headed to the castle, which was being raided by Amber's men, and took in Antonio with his men and some spies of Amber from the Ghost Division. Baron Mendes immediately ordered Stephen, with a dark light in his eyes, "Kill the Knight Commander and the top 100 other guys who conspired against me previously. Not a single one should survive after such a betrayal." The Knight Commander was shivering with his men as he was tied in chains. The Knight Commander begged for mercy as he cried hoarsely, "Mercy, Lord, mercy. I was simply blinded by ego and our wrath because of that Count's impudent men." Mendes, with an angry heart, spoke gravely, "And that is the reason you guys will die today. Blinded by ego and wrath, you guys almost ruined my domain. If it was someone else other than that Count, then they would have already occupied this land after their secession. I guess he has his constraints and prefers not to make more enemies. As far as you guys are concerned, you should be glad that you won't be dying as traitors. I am not doing this for you guys but for your families. You will be declared dead when Prince Hector decided to abandon you guys. Anyway, I will keep my word. Stephen, you and your men can proceed. No need for any mercy for these guys." One by one heads rolled as Stephen and his men started killing the knights who betrayed Baron Mendes. Many were trying to resist but failed as they died in the hands of Stephen and others. Antonio was shocked after watching his father's resolve and understood that he had made a grave offense previously when he acted against his father on Prince Hector's orders. "God, why did I provoke that Count in the first place?" There was helplessness in his voice as Baron Mendes spoke to Antonio, "Listen, child, even if I want to protect you, I can't protect you this time around. For this, you must blame your actions. If you can survive, then it would be your fate." Soon the guards took Antonio to another place while Baron Mendes got back handling all of his men as he got busy with the current situation. Outside Amber's office, one of the spies living in Dolores came to the temporary office of Amber in a suspicious manner. Guards were quite alerted by him. Watch their reaction. He immediately showed them his token. Showing the token to the guards, he immediately headed inside the room as it seemed he was here for an important affair. Looking at the man, Amber understood that he was deployed here. Without beating around the bush, Amber immediately asked, "So what news do you have? Is there anything important?" The ghost nodded and answered, "Lord, Prince Hector and Duke Norman has left for Gretos. Previously they only attacked with 15,000 of their men and hence the low casualties. Francis too escaped with his men from Radiant Church quite early. I think you already know this." As far as important news is concerned, there is another news. Amber nodded and signaled, "Speak." Ghost nodded and spoke with a grave tone. Lord Irwin was previously seen spreading something with his men as he too left in a hurry with his men previously. Here is the sample of the powder the ghosts collected after downing one of the soldiers. After interrogating the soldier too didn't know about what they were spreading. And there was another particular thing. He continued, the Radiant Church's Templars were continuously chanting something around the base of Lord Irwin. I think there is definitely something serious going on. We need to investigate this. Amber nodded and went into thought. Yes, this seems serious. Amber furrowed his brows as he heard about the suspicious actions of General Irwin and immediately wanted to report it to General Anik via a message rune. The ghost interrupted Amber before he could hear his decision. Lord, there is one more thing. Amber furrowed his brows and asked in an irritated manner, what is it? Now. Ghost hesitated a bit and spoke, it's about Princess Emina and her escort team, they contacted us. We were contacted by their spy head, Bins. He says that he wants a safe passage to North Frontier Domain for Princess Emina and his team. Is it possible? Chapter 223. Amber furrowed his brows as he heard about them and asked, where are they currently? Are they safe? The ghost nodded and spoke, yes, they are safe, currently they are living in a hotel. However, I have brought them here as they insisted to meet you. You can meet them if you want. They are outside waiting for us. Amber nodded and ordered, okay, I will meet them first. Bring them in immediately. Treat them as important guests. Yes, sir. Bins the spy escorting Emina was currently on a lookout when the scout came out from the office. The ghost scout signaled them to come in. Emina sighed with relief as she had the chance to go out of this war zone. The ghost was quite surprised by the beauty after watching the princess without a hood. As soon as they came in, Amber immediately greeted them enthusiastically. After some pleasantries, Amber immediately got to the main point. I never expected both of you to head here. Was there any urgent matter on your side? It was quite awkward for Bins after hearing him, but to keep face as princess came here on her own will, he immediately spoke, yes, the princess wanted to meet Mist and the inventor of those new drugs. She feels that these drugs will change the monopoly of Radiant Church and wanted to make a deal with you guys which would be helpful for both of us in the future. Amber nodded as he too understood the importance of the medicine created by John. He spoke, seems reasonable, there have also been a lot of spies from the Radiant Church and the royal family to get those antidotes. Emina coughed immediately as she heard them but nodded after understanding that Bins was given approval by Thomas for conducting this particular trade. She spoke, yes, we never thought this war would reach this point, we only predicted minor skirmishes and then a peace deal. However, we were wrong. Anyway, we would like to leave this war zone immediately. Emina smelled something suspicious as she saw a powder near Amber's table and raised her brows. What is this? Why do you guys have this in your possession? Is your lord dealing with such things? Amber raised his eyebrows as he saw in the direction of Emina. Ah, you are talking about that powder? No, it was collected by my men. This powder was being spread by General Irwin's men, so we're quite suspicious and wanted to have our labs test them if there is any conspiracy involved. So that is the current situation. Emina was quite shocked after hearing this as she asked, you guys really don't know what is this? Bins too was immediately alerted after he saw the powder, however he knew that this was a classified thing even in Ionano, or however it was common knowledge for royalty. Without thinking, Amber nodded and asked, yeah, from the looks of it, it seems you guys have some knowledge on it. Can you tell us more about it? Emina spoke with a grave expression as she looked at the black powder. This is actually related to one of our most classified reports. After our detailed studies, we found that this powder is used to create an epidemic known as Black Death. We still don't know the source of this disease. However, we know one thing for sure, this is a disease engineered artificially to kill off people with low magic energy. I believe this was made with the sole motive of killing knights, as they were a menace for magicians in close combat. This would take effect in 8 to 10 days. As for those with high magic levels or resistance, they were able to escape the effects of this disease. Amber nodded as he understood the situation and asked, "Is there any solution for this disease? Because according to my men's report, this powder is spread in the whole city of Dolores, however there aren't reactions till now." Binns nodded and spoke, "Well, there is a medicine, but it is regulated by the Radiant Church. We for one tackled this problem with holy water of Raven Tree, however it is quite expensive. We have a hostile relationship with the Radiant Church because of their previous attempts to kill our populace when they sent Templar across the sea when we rejected them and their ideology 300 years ago. And that was also the time when they excluded the elves as well from noble species after our relations worsened when they faced a bitter defeat against us in Ionanor. And that was the time when they started discriminating against all the other species. As far as the old guys are concerned, they think this disease is related to the Radiant Church, since this disease came in Ionanor 300 years ago as well, but till now we never had any proofs. But today, after watching this powder, I am sure one of the two, either the Radiant Church or the royal family, is responsible for this disease." Amber smiled as he thanked them and spoke, "Thanks for this valuable information. I will immediately and personally take you guys to North Frontier Domain so that you can meet our Lord John." Amber then turned to the ghost and spoke, "Bring the powder in a safe container. I will be meeting Commander Marsh. Make preparations for my leave." "Okay, sir." The ghost then turned to Emina and Binns, "Princess Emina and Lordship Binns, please follow me and bring your men, we will be shortly leaving." Emina and Binns nodded as they followed the spy and left for their guest house. Emina asked Binns as she left Amber's office and reached the guest house, "What do you think of this battle?" Binns thought a bit, gave his opinion. He spoke with a grave expression, "A massacre, I suppose. This reminds me of the magician units riding with the dragon knights and massacring the elite units by the scores of thousands when things came to shove for the royal family against the demons or dwarves. However, maintaining those dragon knights takes up a lot of money and resources. So it has its pros and cons. While training a dragon knights takes at least 15 years. As far as these new weapons are concerned, I reckon they are on way cheaper side as compared to the dragon knights, and at the same time they are quite effective. As an elf, I abhor these weapons as they claim the life of nature as well as witnessed earlier. However, I guess we have to be flexible if we want to survive. On the brighter side, it's good that we allied with Lord John, since he could become our biggest ally in the future." Emina smiled and asked, "What about that general we met earlier?" Binns smiled as he thought of Amber, young, talented, full of energy and quite aggressive, has a lot of blood on his hands. However, his eyes are clear, which indicates that he has only killed people on the battlefield or the ones who he presumes have done bad to the society, maybe some bandits. Emina spoke as she observed something previously, "You were quite cautious around that spy, what about him?" Binns smiled as he remembered some of his men, "It's better if I don't speak. He has the eyes of a person who has taken an oath to do anything, which includes good and bad. Like a knight when he voluntarily gives his oath to a lord. Well, we shouldn't be bothered about them. We need to leave this war zone as soon as possible." Emina was quite angry as she saw that Binns was avoiding her questions left and right. "What about the people who will be affected by this disease?" Binns sighed and spoke, "We can't do anything about it, Princess. We need to leave. The most we can do is give them the holy water of Raven Tree, which I bought in case of an emergency as they research it." Soon Amber met Marsh in his chambers. Amber sighed as he spoke, "There is bad news." "Marsh, what is it?" Amber smiled and gave him a small pouch of the Black Death powder. "It's these powders, as suspected by our men. There is a big conspiracy lying around this withdrawal by General Irwin. This powder is related to the disease of Black Death. I think you might have heard about it, right?" Marsh was quite surprised as he asked, "Is our information correct?" Amber sighed and spoke, "Yes, reaffirmed by the elves. Those with low magic levels will be affected by it, so it means most of our army and civilians except our magic knights. I will be leaving immediately with a small team. You will have to take control of my men and yours as well. At this time after the battle ended, Ian Red was focusing on his crystal ball as he finally saw a vision. In the vision, he saw the country completely in flames with a smiling face of John, who was seated on a throne with a crown on his head and all of his ministers bowing to him. He saw the big armies of 100,000 men dying to the unknown weapons against John's men. He saw the visions at lightning speed. At last a bigger civil war erupted when the royal family decided to act against Duke Rose and set off a wave of separation in the kingdom when the royal family was fighting at three fronts unexpectedly. The king had shocked face as it seemed that someone had betrayed him at the end. At this same time, all the dragon magic crystal which were lying near Ian Red were used up and his vision ended. Ian Red roared as all the dragon crystal ended, "Damn it! I was this close. Anyway, I immediately need to inform His Majesty about this vision. It seems I was finally able to view something, but I guess it was not related to the fate of North Frontier City, but it was more related to the fate of Elias Kingdom. It seems that the Count is planning to secede and become a king. From the looks, it seems it was his plan to provoke us so that we attack him." Ian Red sighed as he murmured, "I wished we could have waited till today before we made a move on that Count. From the looks, it seems he is hiding frightening weapons and hence his provoking remarks continuously." Currently, at the Radiant Church, the 5th Cardinal René saw the image from the rune when Johnson had died. He shook immediately as he saw the massacre of Templar which was done by General Anik and his men. He looked to his subordinate Templar and gave him immediate orders, "Call for an emergency meeting, the situation is serious. Tell them Johnson is dead and has sent his rune before he died." "Yes, my lord." Chapter 224. During this time a serious meeting was taking place the headquarters of the Radiant Church. The 5th Cardinal René activated the rune and showed how Johnson and his Templars died. "What do you guys think about their deaths?" One of the bishops spoke, "Gruesome, inglorious and unjustified. It seems they have weapons that are more dangerous than the ballistas. We need to do something about it. The good thing is, now we can attack them without any interference from the royal family or anyone else, as that arrogant count has decided to secede." One of the cardinals with a big mustache spoke, "Not necessarily a good thing, as we can see from the rune. General Irwin too was injured quite a lot and it seems he too had decided to run after watching the fates of his soldiers. Count John's soldiers didn't have a single loss or negligible losses as seen previously. And from the looks of it, they are pretty much prepared for everything from how they seceded. How do we fight those demonic weird weapons? I am afraid that this time we have made an incredibly dangerous enemy. I say more dangerous than Prince Lokov." Gabriel, the oldest cardinal, nodded and spoke with a grave face, "I think we should withdraw for now or else we will face more losses. 20,000 plus Templars in one day is not a small number. Not to mention their productability, because of light magic, that we lost. How will we recover those losses? From my point of view, that Count has simply flipped the whole damn table by seceding and bringing in a new weapon of warfare. That general too is a big surprise this time around. I think we made a big mistake by agreeing with King Lionheart's previous deal. It would have been better if the royal family and that Count would had just duked it out. I think that he was advised by Ian Red as he himself seemed reluctant, but he unwillingly still conducted this deal. From the looks, they were heading their bets when they attacked that Count. 8th Cardinal Richard smirked and finally attacked Pope David. From the start we were wrong, we should have allied with that Count from the beginning. Who knows, we would have gotten those weapons in our hands and may also be able to twist the royal family as we wished. Without even capturing the Elias Kingdom we would have created enough influence with the help of those printing machine in spreading our ideology while having enough power with those ballistas and these new cannons. The royal family would have to heed to our demands even if they didn't like it. But now we have a big situation in our hands. We pretty much lost enough face against that Count. I hope the remaining personnel at Dolores remains safe. Do you have anything to say, Pope David?" A lot of cardinals agreed with Gabriel and the other cardinals, including Richard, as they looked towards David with some amusement, because Pope David was the one who wanted conflict with that count. Pope David was raging throughout this battle, but he kept his emotions in check during this meeting. He knew he would be targeted after his previous blunder. He calmly spoke, "I guess we certainly made a blunder, but if we allied with that count, then we would be facing a big war with the royal family because of that guy's secession, which would have led to invasion from the demons in the west and dwarves in the east. You should know that most of the guys are out for blood when it comes to Radiant Church, not to mention that count's increased interactions with other species. I think that guy has dealt with devils, as he has a lot of unknown and weird weapons. As far as the personnel at Dolores is concerned, they will remain safe, since Francis too would have gotten the message of Johnson's death. As far as dealing with him is concerned, I am sure Lionheart won't take this secession lying down and send his dragon knights and the magician squads to deal with them. We can strike when they are engaged." Richard sniggered as he heard David and spoke in a deriding manner, "You missed one point, Ian read. Do you think he will fail to see such maneuvers?" David laughed as he heard Richard, "Humph, that old man has long lost his abilities. If not, then he would have certainly seen such an outcome of the previous battle. And as far as he is concerned, we too can use our sages to block his vision. I guess he faced the same problems in not getting a single vision as us when it came to that count. Do any of you think that some sage is supporting that count from the shadows?" Richard wanted to rebuke him but didn't after watching his master Gabriel. There was constant bickering going on in the meeting as they couldn't reach a conclusion because of their internal struggle. Next morning, Amber was currently traveling with Emina, Mendes, and their escorts towards North Frontier City on their carriages and horses. At this time Amber asked Mendes, "What is the history of this disease, Black Death? I have only read a little about it." Mendes thought a bit as he recalled, "As far as I know, about 500 years ago, I think this disease was created by a undead sage magician Xylo, who had incredible hate towards the knights, as he has lost his eye at a young age to a military commander in Elias, who later became a general. Since he was poor, he always wanted to join the knights and lead a happy life, but he was stuck with reality. Only later he was adopted by a wandering magician." Emina too remembered and spoke, "Yes, this disease was first seen in the war between him, with his undead, and the forces of Elias. Later, from the rumors, it is said that he had indulged in undead arts when he was rejected by the military because of his feeble body. After the war, he disappeared completely. The general and all of his knights died from the Black Death disease. Not a lot of people know about his end. He had only written a book before he left. A lot of people got to know about this and hence forced a change in the military of Elias. He left quite a big legacy when it came to magic." Amber was amused as he spoke, Now, this is interesting. I never knew that undead arts existed." Emina spoke, "The reason for it is that undead arts are banned on this continent because everyone fears the lack of emotion from undead magicians as they grow, and hence the ban. A lot of villages faced massacres because of their non-stop experimentation in pursuit of eternal knowledge. The kingdom had run out of offenders for their experimentation, and hence the result was ban when things got out of control. We too have banned it for the same reason. Meanwhile, when will we reach North Frontier?" Amber looked at geography and then the map. He spoke, "I think we would reach in about a few hours." Chapter 225. At the Imperial City. Currently, Ian Red and his associates were having a serious meeting with King Lionheart and other ministers. Ian Red spoke to His Majesty in an earnest manner, "My lord, if we don't change something, this civil war will certainly get bigger, and I am certain of it. For those who think it's a small war where that count will get into senses, it is not so according to our vision. When we decided to act against that count, it became a civil war. In my vision, I saw that count on a throne with a crown on his head, while our armies faced a bigger annihilation, much bigger than the ones we sent currently. That count will certainly secede according to my vision. We have to stop his announcement and mend our relations with him, or else it will be too late to stop it. I saw a lot of weird weapons which claimed at least 200,000 lives. That new general of theirs will become our biggest obstacle. For vouching this vision, all of my associates too watched the same vision, and you can ask them. Previously I was never certain about things, and hence there was never a concrete answer, but this time I am certain that things will head that way. If we go along with this path, we will be warring with Duke Rose as well because of his trading relationship with Count John. I think we should stop before we corner him too much. One of the ministers who was in favor of war roared at Ian Red, "Have you lost your mind, old man? Stop spouting bullshit just because you want to be relevant. This is just a small war where that count doesn't knows his place. At worse we will use our dragon knights to wipe out his army. And what if you are wrong about this vision? Our war preparations are already made. It would all go to waste, not to mention the criticism we would face from the military for this cowardly behavior. You should know that he has hit noble interests when he announced abolishment of slavery in his domain after a few years. We certainly can't go back after his insolent behavior. He still hasn't paid his respects to the king till now." With a resolute heart, Ian Red roared in the hall, "I will stake my life for this claim. However, what will you do if you are wrong and this kingdom falls into ruin if we continue down with this path of opposing that count? Will you take the responsibility?" Everyone was quiet the moment he spoke, no one dared to refute him, watching his resolute will. Now everyone was sure that he wasn't bluffing for relevance. He continued with a serious tone, "I hope he doesn't take a drastic measure because of the blockade on port and sanctions for food and other necessities. We need to do something, my lord." Everyone in the hall was quite intimidated after hearing Ian Red's resolute declaration. This time Plato didn't speak, as he had previously read a report from his spy who was near Dolores. The spy had sent an emergency report about the casualties from the magic rune messenger. Plato had a grave expression as he asked Ian Red, "Master Ian Red, when did you receive this vision?" Looking at Plato addressing Ian Red in such a respectful manner, everyone was shocked as they understood that Plato knew something, and hence his grave expression. Ian Red spoke as he remembered, "Last night. It seems you have some information. Speak out." Plato nodded and spoke, "Yes." Plato thought as he heard Ian Red, "Alas, this information was too late. He already seceded. I wanted to inform His Majesty today, but who would know that you would call for this meeting?" Suddenly a knock came. A guard knocked on the door as he asked his permission to meet Defense Minister Plato. In an angry tone, Plato asked the guard, "I hope this is important, or you will face the consequences for disturbing such an important meeting." "What is it?" The guard nodded and gave the letter. "It's an urgent letter sent by Lord Luke. It seems it is an S-grade letter after our team saw the encryptions. So it is very urgent, my lord. Only you, Master Ian Red, and His Majesty can open it." Everyone was quite alerted after hearing the guard. One of the ministers whispered, "Has the demons started attacking us?" As soon as Plato read the letter, he had an expression of shock. "It's done. We can't stop it. How the fuck we lost so many soldiers? And that count dares secede? Arg, if this continues, it will be very serious. Such a big and bold declaration, even I can't reverse it." Ian Red too was quite irritated as he snatched the letter. "What's so important in this letter that you are so shocked? Give it to me." Ian Red slowly read the letter. After reading, he was quite happy that a certain part of his prediction was true, but he had grave expression. "Already? My lord, please take this letter." Lionheart too was curious as he saw grave expressions on both Plato and Ian Red. He took the letter and read it. As soon as he read it, he kept his emotions first in check, as he knew that if this blew then it would spread. What the fuck? The guy dares secede. Even the dukes would think 100 times before doing that. If he had heeded our commands, then we wouldn't have faced such opposition from me and others. Wait, Ian Red had the same vision of him wearing a crown, right? Is it going in that direction? It seems that I need to hear Ian Red in detail about his vision. With a grave expression he asked Ian Red, continue. Tell us, what do you think will happen if we continue with this path? What did you saw in your visions? Everyone in the hall understood that something big had happened. The agricultural minister spoke in a hushed voice. Is it related to General Irwin's campaign at North? Did something happen there? I hope they don't ask for more supplies. Finance minister was quite relaxed and spoke in a relaxed manner. Humph, what would happen in one day? I think only minor skirmishes would have taken place. It is the Radiant Church who would do something, as they seem more eager to invade the northern domain. Ian Red sighed and spoke with a grave expression. I think Duke Rose will continue his relationship with Count John via other ways which will catch our attention and in turn lead to a bigger civil war. I hope we can curb this current situation because a lot of people are watching us, which means they too could attack us in times of our vulnerability. Do we announce it, my lord? A lot of ministers in the hall were tensed as they looked at the conversation taking place. Lionheart sighed as he knew that he can't curb this information for long, since those newspapers would inevitably spread it, and hence understood Ian Red's worries that everyone should be prepared about this news. Lionheart sighed and spoke slowly. I hope everyone in this room calmly hears this out. He looked at everyone and then spoke with a grave expression. This might be a shock for every one of you in this hall, but please bear with it. Count John has decided to secede from Elias. There was a hubbub in the hall as some people lashed out angrily after hearing this announcement. What the fuck? Who does he think he is? We were the ones who provided him the lands, and now he wants to rebel against us just because we put sanctions on him because of his indisciplined navy, which is full of pirates. Plato took the letter from the king, gave it to the guard and told him to read it aloud. The guard spoke in an unhurried manner, addressed by Lord Luke. Count John has decided to secede from Elias because of the unfair treatment and contempt they have received continuously from the royal family and other aristocrats, whether it is trade or sanctions on purchasing normal necessities or the blockade of the port to trade with other countries. They had only decided now to announce it when they were at the front of war and had no choice when faced against a wall. The ministers will be crowning Count John as the King of Sky Kingdom in a few days. I believe Count John wouldn't have seceded if he was treated fairly. Speaking with Mr. Taylor, I got to know that Count John is someone who values his promises and hence wouldn't have rebelled. He had only rebelled now because he was pushed into a corner, while at the same it was because of the greed of some ministers. Currently, Templar Johnson and most of the 30,000 men have died to some weird weapons of Count John, and the same goes to General Irwin's men. General Irwin lost around 10,000 of his men, and at the same time, General was badly injured. General's short sword is also badly damaged. Duke Norman, Baron Antonio, and Prince Hector too lost 10,000 men when they attacked the western castle of the North Frontier City. In return, General Amber and Marsh had decided to invade Dolores. Prince and Duke have escaped Dolores, while Baron Antonio wanted to defend Dolores and hence he stayed there. There is no information about Dolores as Count John's men have occupied it currently. What I know is that they are currently bringing in a lot of food and other materials from Dolores, since Prince Hector and Duke had decided to abandon it in a hurry. As far as casualties on Count John's side, it remains 0. Most of our spies too are either captured or killed for creating chaos during this war. What I currently fear the most is the will of people who are completely behind their lord. The biggest reason behind this support is his previous actions when he decided to save that slave, Jake, or the time when he decided to throw out the mercenaries who were creating chaos. I hope we take this announcement very seriously because a lot of blood will flow in this war. The letter described fully about the events where Prince had left the castle and other relevant details. One of the ministers exclaimed after hearing the casualties, "What? We lost 50,000. Another minister exclaimed, "How is this possible that he didn't lose a single man? Was he always hiding those weapons? Do we really have to use our core military made up of magicians and dragon knights?" Someone from Prince Felix's camp spoke. More importantly, whose fault was it that Count took such a decision? I am sure everyone here knows it. While at the time, he even abandoned his allies. Humph. I feel the decision from Prince Hector, no Baron Antonio, to block the port led to this decision from Count John, as he had no other choices but resist with full force or else face a food shortage and face a rebellion from commoners. I guess he stood up for his men this time around as he always does since we are the ones who are invading them in the first place. If we had reconciled with Count John, who knows, we could have saved 50,000 lives that we lost yesterday. I am sure everyone here knows about the impulsive behavior of Prince Hector and his rants. Previously he created small problems, and look, now we have bigger problems because of his personal grudges. Countries don't run on personal feelings. Who knows, he might have been the instigator of this mess for all we know. I am sure everyone knows that Evan's death is still full of mysteries. As if a Pandora's box was opened this time around. A lot of people understood what was going on. One of the neutral ministers spoke gravely. I am more worried about General Irwin, who still wasn't able to withstand the force of those weapons even with his short sword. Not to mention the damage sustained on the sword. Chapter 226. A lot of people understood, but no one decided to speak against Hector, as a lot of people had gained favors from him. One of the rune masters spoke as he tried to defend Hector. Stop spouting false accusations. It's not like Prince Felix has his hands clean. Do you want to recall just the recent past between him and Prince Lokov? No one spoke while King angrily looked at the rune master as he too was involved in the incident. He saw the king's expression and tactfully continued further. In the first place, that count never had any respect for the aristocrats and our code of honors, so it was only natural that something like would have happened. Currently, we are in a war and you guys are thinking about your personal gains and enmity. The situation is more serious than we think. We have lost 50,000 elite men. It would take a lot of resources and men to train so many men. I hope we can create a coalition which would increase the unity among lords and reduce our losses to a minimum. I also suggest using the all-magic knight teams and magician to overwhelm them. Minister Plato sighed and marveled at John's genius political maneuvering. After watching the quarrel, he sighed and murmured as he was standing near Ian Red, we were completely duped by that count. He seceded on high moral grounds that he had no choice but to rebel in unfavorable circumstances. I guess most of the people would have surrendered in such a situation, however he had something different in mind when we met that weapon. Every one of us was manipulated on the back of his hands like an open box without any secrets. It seems, he acted like a sheep on purpose while in reality, he was a wolf ready to swallow everyone. I have never faced such an opponent. This count is getting more dangerous day by day, probably the most dangerous individual for our kingdom, more dangerous than Lokov. I guess I should have listened to you, Ian Red. It seems a lot of his previous actions were related to this plan of secession from the start. If it was really all that unfavorable for him and his domain, then all he had to do was show those weapons to the whole world and not share it with the royal family. He would have most likely been made a duke after that action, but I guess he had other plans and is only showing his true nature now. He sighed, thought, I was the one who used to always manipulate our enemies in the west, barbarians and demons, or east, dwarves. Ian Red nodded and spoke, no, the fault lies with me as well, because I never got concrete vision whenever it was related to North Frontier City and that count, and we could never make a better plan. I guess I was only able to see the previous vision because the battle ended last night. It seems he either has the backing of a sage in secret, but they too have their limits, or he is an anomaly. I guess I was only able to see him now because his actions of seceding can't be reversed. We have a big mess in our hands. I guess Lord and everyone here became too greedy for power, and hence the result. Plato nodded and agreed as he spoke with a dark light. However, we can't let this secession go lying down, or else it would be disastrous. I guess our decision to support Duke Fjord still opened a Pandora's box, which I feared the most. Duke Fjord would still be controllable, but this count is whole another monster who is full of mysteries. Meanwhile, Fjord always leveraged his relation with dwarves. Damn it, if I knew that this decision of our would have led to such a situation, I would have never advised the king to support Fjord instead of remaining neutral. King Lionheart meanwhile thought, that small count dares manipulate me and the whole kingdom. He will pay a price for such insolence. I will contact those assassins from Fire Abyss if need be. I need to teach him and others a lesson, or else I will be taken as a pushover. No, no, if we continue down this path then there will be a bigger civil war as predicted by Ian Red. I should ask his advice on further plan of action. He spoke loudly as the hall was becoming a mess. Quiet everyone, Plato. Ian Red, what do you suggest our further plan of action if everything goes according to your vision? How do we avoid that fate? Plato was the one who spoke this time around. I suggest ignoring Duke Rose's trade with Count John to avoid widening this current war while we remain vigilant against foreign enemies. At the same time I hope it is not mandatory for other lords to participate in this war, as it seems that we are making factions which would be more troublesome. Ian Red nodded and agreed, yes, at this moment we can't anger Duke Rose as well. Previously we always feared opening a Pandora's box whenever we dealt with Duke Fjord, and hence our previous vigilance pertaining Duke Fjord and actions against Count John, but this time we have actually opened a Pandora's box and have to be more vigilant since those new weapons have changed the military scenario where Duke Rose can take the risks if we anger him. King Lionheart sighed and nodded unwillingly as he understood the consequences of his actions. This wouldn't have happened if I didn't get influenced by that foolish son of mine. I guess I was too mad because of that Count's close relations to Lokov. That night in Red Lake City still sends shivers on my body. Plato saw another guard who was coming in with a worried expression. Plato sighed and let him speak about what was happening in the north currently. The guard came in the current chaos and announced, "My lord, Prince Felix's castle is currently under siege from Prince Lokov's men. They were seen using armors and weapons which seems related to Count John. There is a full-blown battle taking place in the west. Duke Black Wolf has asked for assistance. Here is the full report. Duke Black Wolf has declined to enter a battle with Prince Lokov as he thinks it is an internal matter between princes. Prince Lokov has announced that he will be killing everyone this time around for anyone who was involved in the death of Apophis." Guard was surprised as he heard gasps from people when they suddenly heard a taboo name. King was completely angry. Arg. As I thought, those two guys are related to the demons and are the biggest dangers to this kingdom. Why can't both of them just die? Much to everyone's surprise, they got the news which was completely different from the battle at North. One of the ministers spoke in a hushed voice, "What? Prince Lokov has made a move after such a long time? What is going on?" At this time a lot of people who were at Prince Hector's banquet understood what did Prince Lokov meant by a big war previously. Many people who were allied with Felix gulped fearfully as they remembered his arrogant speech. Those who were allied with Felix grit their teeth and heard carefully. It seems he was already planning for a long time. I guess he got those weapons quite early and hence his declaration. Immediately King Lionheart was enraged as he roared, "As I thought. That guy had relations with Lokov. I can't let that menace run amok in this kingdom." Plato and Ian Red sighed as they heard about Prince Lokov. It looks like he has finally started taking actions. We need to move as well. Plato sighed as he thought, such a shame, we wouldn't be facing such a situation if Prince Lokov was allowed to marry that demoness. King's hate for demons and Felix's greed for power led to such a situation. Maybe that count also wouldn't have seceded if Prince Lokov was one of the potential future king. I guess this time even Queen Joanna wouldn't be able to help His Majesty as she herself fears her life after that betrayal in the past against her son. I wonder what would Prince do if he realizes that King Lionheart was indirectly involved in the death of his lover when King sent his knights to aid Felix in secret. I guess this war was inevitable from that day onwards. I guess it was just getting delayed and was waiting for the spark. Plato thought nostalgically as he remembered about the young prince who was always full of spirit and energy. Full of righteousness as he trained with his master. He murmured, "The demons surely created big chaos when they sent that girl here. That's why we can never trust them." Ian Red sighed as he heard him and spoke with a grave expression, "She wasn't sent here. She came here on her own will. Who knew Prince would be so attached to her after his first interaction and possibly go to such lengths 7 years ago in Red Lake City killing all the aristocrats? The thing was, Felix and the knights were exposed when that happened. It was good that the knights were loyal and didn't speak a word about it when captured, and hence all the blame was borne by Felix, or else it would have been a massacre. Why do you think Felix gets so many resources in spite of his relations with the Radiant Church? I am sure you understand the complexities of the past. You see, King Lionheart was more scared after the Red Lake City incident where most of the nobles supporting Felix died. He feared for his life. Plato was surprised because this was the first time that Ianred actually spoke about that incident from 8 years ago. Both Plato and Ianred had a grave expression as they thought about the Red Lake City incident. Chapter 227. Currently, Antonio was being escorted by Stephen and John's men towards Count Casey's domain south of Baron Mendes's domain. He was pretty much low and angry as he resigned to his fate. He murmured repeatedly, "It's all that upstart's fault. He certainly is a traitor who is getting help from devils." Stephen sighed as he always thought that Antonio would be the most loyal son to Baron Mendes, but it was different now after his recent conspiracy. After a long journey they reached borders of Casey's domain. Near an abandoned house, Ember's men approached and knocked in a certain pattern. It was replied in a certain patter from inside. They then spoke the passcode, only then did the gate open. The guy who opened the gate looked at the spy and then at Stephen and others. He had curly hairs and an angry expression. "You guys seem different. Are you new to the information department?" The spy took out a deed and a token which was related to Count Casey. "No, look at this. We were told to give you this token and the deed to prove our identities. We wish to meet your superior." The guy who opened the gate was quite surprised after looking at the token. At first he was skeptical, but after reading the deed, he understood that they were very important guests. After realizing their identities, the guy invited them with a warm smile and immediately went downstairs to inform his superior, "Come inside and wait for a while, I will be informing my lord immediately. If you have any worries, you can ask the other men. They will guide you immediately." Stephen and others nodded their heads as they understood that the token and the deed was very valuable. Stephen looked at the token and then at the spy's 360-degree change in attitude as he understood. He thought, "Looks like they indeed made a big deal with Count Casey. I wonder what sort of deal was made with Count Casey." After a long while, Count Casey came in a hurried manner with his men. Count Casey observed the men, nodded and immediately approached Stephen and others. He immediately greeted Stephen and Amber's men. He amicably asked them, "I hope you guys didn't have any problems reaching here." Amber's spy shook his head and spoke immediately, "No, but my lord, King John wanted your help. You see, we have a surprise here." The spy directed his gaze towards a big sack which only opened now. Casey was surprised a bit but didn't show it outside as he saw the rugged appearances of Lord Irwin's and his men when they were in his domain and other nearby domain. His attention was then locked at the sack which was opened only now. He was surprised to see Antonio. Casey thought as he looked at Antonio, "It seems that guy is done for sure. Surely an idiot." He looked at Stephen amusingly as he knew that this man was usually seen around Baron Mendes. Stephen sighed and spoke, "No need to be surprised. You see, he tried to usurp my lord, Mendes, previously and hence his current state. Lord John didn't wish to kill him as he feels that he would be more useful if he lives, at least for now. Read this letter to get a better understanding." Casey took the letter, saw John's personal stamp and started reading it. He was surprised after reading the plan of Count John which was targeted against Prince Hector, Duke Norman, and General Irwin. Casey thought after reading John's plan, those guys will surely be facing a bitter struggle in the court. Casey came near Antonio whose mouth was closed the whole time. He smiled and spoke, "Antonio, I guess you were always a fool. Why would you trust others and become their pawn when you have a stronger neighbor at your borders? I guess Baron Mendes trusted you too much. You shouldn't blame anyone but your own foolish decisions. You know, I always suspected that there was something amiss when Count John immediately gave up his ballistas to the royal family. Most of the people would resist like never, and when they have such weapons, you would think he is an idiot, but the irony is that those guys also made such an incredible weapon. I guess he was hiding something bigger, as I thought instinctively, which was only revealed yesterday. You should never just go by facts alone but also predict others based on their actions. Antonio humphed and spoke, "Humph, I don't need your lecture. It seems you were secretly in contact with that count. No wonder he was so prepared. When your collaboration with Count John is revealed, you two will be toast by Prince Hector and others." Casey smiled and said with a smiling tone, "I wonder, but I had made my decision when I decided not to participate in the Northern campaign, and it's not as easy now for Prince Hector and Duke to act against us now that Count John has seceded. At the same time, Duke Norman has faced losses of up to 10,000 men, not to mention the Radiant Church and Lord Irwin. Do you want to know casualties of Lord Irwin and Templars who attacked the southern castle?" He smiled and continued, 30,000 Templars died, including Templar Johnson, and 10,000 men from General Irwin's army died. Not to mention his grave injury. It is not yet revealed so that army morale doesn't go down. So you understand what happened when this war took place. The royal family will only be nailing their own coffin if they decide to act against the ones who didn't wish to participate in this war. And you see, you are the biggest pawn this time around. Your action of blocking that port led to this big war." He continued, "According to Count John's predictions, as this war progresses, you will be scapegoated when Prince Hector and others try to save their own skin for abandoning Dolores and influencing the start of this war. And that is when I will present you at the imperial capital. However, you should be glad, because you will be removing a lot of skeletons from graveyards. You will most likely be killed by your own allies, but they too would face a great humiliation when you are in the imperial capital." Antonio had no words to respond, as he understood the consequences of his betrayal. Casey then directed Longman and others to bring in Antonio. "Come, bring him in." At this time, Felix was with his knights trying to escape through the tunnels built in his castle. The castle was burning as Lokov's men were directed by Duncan and Lokov himself to invade the castle. There was blood dripping from the side of his mouth as he roared and asked his men, "How the hell does he have ballistas with bigger ranges and power? And why was there no information regarding this much movement of troops of Lokov's end?" He murmured, "If Lokov knows that father was the one who helped me killed Apophis, I wonder how would this fare. However, father would be out for my blood and oppose me in inheriting the throne, and Lokov would still bay for father and my blood. Felix's personal knight, my lord, according to our predictions, all the men were moved in a 3-month gap. This was the reason we weren't able to detect the movement of troops and other resources. As far as ballistas are concerned, I believe they were given by Count John to him in secret. And it seems our relation with the Radiant Church is a bigger factor in Lokov getting those weapons and accessories. Currently, there was a spy among Felix's men who was listening to their talk, as coincidentally heard Felix's murmur, which was related to Red Lake incident. Felix heard his knight and immediately decided, "Okay, we will first head for imperial capital." The knight suggested, "I suggest otherwise, my lord. There is a big turmoil going on at capital." Felix furrowed and asked, "What's going on there that we need to avoid it?" "Apparently that count has decided to secede, and Templar John and Lord Irwin's army lost against that count's men. Total casualties remain 50,000 on our side. While that count didn't lose a single soldier. From our sources, I heard that he had brought forth a new weapon with unmatched strength, power, and range. However, it seems they have employed the usage of Black Death so that they could rouse the public and recruit them." Felix understood the situation and with a keen light gave orders, "Okay, in that case, we will head to the Radiant City. Pope David will shelter us anyway. Where are the hell mercenaries and our reserves? That Lokov thinks that I haven't planned anything. Humph, he will be in for a surprise." The knight spoke, "They will be on the way with our reserves, my lord. However, we should be more cautious." Felix nodded and gave an order in a hushed manner. "Okay, my lord." Chapter 228. Castle was continuously being bombarded with the ballistas, as the vibrations could be seen in the underground as well. Soldiers guarding the castle gulped as they were sweating continuously, thinking about their own fates. One of the soldier in palace spoke, "Damn it, why did I choose to work for Prince Felix? Seriously, this job is filled with risks. You heard Prince Lokov's previous announcement, right? Yes, and that's the reason why I hate it. Fuck it, I am running away. A lot of soldiers were trying to resist, but the range of ballistas was too big a hurdle. The only thing they could do now was to currently endure and escape. Most of the soldiers had already lost their morale when they heard that Prince Lokov was attacking the castle. At the underground passage, suddenly Felix heard Lokov, who was speaking from a sound stone. It seems you are still a coward and afraid as ever. Well, all of these people will die anyway since they decided to support you. It seems you will still escape like a dog you were like in the past. You see, I would have gladly given up the throne, but you made the biggest mistake when you and your knights violated and killed her. After that incident, you see, a lot of those knights were raped the same night when they laid their hands on her, and today the same fate will be faced by you and your men. You were pretty lucky to escape with your life 7 years ago, but this time, how far can you hide? You guys should be happy if you are able to escape or die, because if I catch you guys, you will face a fate worse than hell, where even King Yama would shiver watching me and my men. I am already warning the guys who are with Felix, you should bring him to me if you don't want to face the same fate or run. You guys better don't get caught with him. Because you know what will happen. Felix was alarmed a bit, but then saw the tunnel which was their way to escape. While a lot of soldiers shivered after hearing about the fate of the soldiers who were captured by Prince Lokov. One of the soldiers remarked angrily as he heard Prince Lokov, "Damn it, we are fucked for sure. I wouldn't have joined this army if we were going to face such a war against that maniac Prince Lokov. Don't you know, he didn't spare a single man or woman apart from children previously in the castle who were previously patrons of Prince Felix. Not even the servants. Only a few were able to escape his wrath. I seriously fear getting caught by his army. I am seriously pissed this time. BTW, what is Prince Lokov speaking about? Whom did Prince Felix kill that he is mentioning right now?" One of his comrades pointed towards Felix and his knights as he spoke in a low tone, "You wouldn't want to get heard by them. There are a lot of matters which were buried by the royal family, we shouldn't try to pry them if we want to live. We can simply escape when it is safer, so keep your voice down." Many soldiers were currently contemplating the idea to escape when they get a chance, but only feared being chased down by Prince Felix and his men, but for some Prince Lokov's treat was bigger and far more dangerous. There were 8,000 mercenaries gathered near the castle and were going to meet the reserves of Prince Felix. A lot of Hell mercenaries were wearing the gear which was made in North Frontier City, which looked quite gaudy. Ed was currently with Liam, who was smiling continuously. Noticing Liam's good mood, he asked him, "Boss, what the occasion? Why are we here today? You didn't even brief us like you usually do." Liam smiled as he thought about the deal he made 7 years ago. "Well, I can't risk my plan being revealed. Everything will be revealed after we meet Prince Felix. Today is the day which will mark the day of chaos. Everything will be revealed today. Anyway, let's head to meet the reserves." Liam looked at Ed and thought, this kid is usually quite an airhead, but he is asking a lot of questions today. He continued and spoke, "Everyone, I don't want anyone delaying when I give you orders later on. Consider this as our most important mission." Ed asked Liam, "Boss, isn't it dangerous to participate in this battle like we usually do? Prince Lokov is currently attacking Prince Felix's castle in the south. It is very dangerous here as it is quite near to our place." Liam smiled and spoke, "Well, you are right, but sometimes you have to fight. And I am someone who can't back out after giving my word. I have been waiting for a long time for this moment. We have already hidden for a long time, now is the time to show our fangs to the world." After a while, Felix's men arrived at the place where they were supposed to meet the reserves. One of the commanders from Felix's army saw that there were only Hell's mercenaries here while there was no sign of their reserves. The mercenaries were fully rugged as if they just came back from a grievous battle. Liam smiled as he finally spotted Felix. Commander was quite suspicious as he looked at Liam and Ed, who were coming with their escorts to meet them. Getting an ominous feeling from Liam and his men, the commander roared at Liam and his men with a lot of authority, "Stop right there." However, Liam and his men didn't stop as they approached Felix and others. With a cunning smile, Liam spoke, finally, after so many years. He continued and gave orders to his men after spotting Felix: attack, catch the prince alive. Kill others if you want. Target the magicians first. Very soon Ed led his men to immediately attack the magicians so they can't have any distance and have an advantage against them. Both the sides were bombarding each other with magic and arrows as it suddenly became a battlefield. There was a clear difference noted when Ed and his men faced the attacks which were deflected by their armors and runes. They soon got in the range of vanguard magic knights protecting the magicians as they soon started clashing. A big battle started taking place between Liam and the commander who tried to protect the prince. As both of them fiercely clashed, Liam used dark magic as his blade started glowing layers of black as he slowly battled with the commander. The ground was shaking as both the generals fought. Liam spoke in a nonchalant manner, "You are quite sturdy." The commander was an earth magic knight who used earth magic whenever he was about to get hurt. He was called the Invincible during his younger years. However, because of his lack of speed many times he couldn't defeat his enemies either. Drunk in pride, the commander harumphed, "I am not called immovable rock for no reason. This battlefield will be your graveyard." Liam murmured as he rode his horse, "I guess normal measures won't work on him." As they battled, the commander started losing his balance and only now did he realize that he was affected by the poison. At last, Liam used his final attack. He swung his sword as multiple layers of black and white energies gathered on the tip of his sword from the base. Gaining a lot of momentum, suddenly a bolt of black lightning released from Liam's sword which targeted the commander's chest. The commander smiled just as the lightning was going to struck his chest. "Humph, even though I am poisoned I can still fight this puny lightning which you are so proud of." Little did the commander know that this lightning was different from his past experiences. Just like before, again a big stone came between the commander and the black lightning. But this time, Liam smiled as he saw the commander's attempt to block his attack and deflect with a sturdy stone. He smiled and spoke, "I haven't trained this move for 10 years just for nothing. I even had to go to bigger lengths to hide this attack of mine so I don't get noticed." Liam then confusingly looked at Felix who was barely able to fight his men who were average fighters. "I heard that the prince was quite a military man. Was it all propaganda?" When Liam's attack struck the commander, the stone was completely obliterated as it penetrated both the stone and the commander's chest. The commander was bleeding profusely as he looked at Liam with shock and horror after the attack. "How is it possible for this lightning to pierce my stone this easily?" Liam smiled as he saw that both the magicians and other knights were either killed or subdued by his men. Liam was then approached by the spy who was in Prince Felix's army for quite a long time. "You did a good job. Did you get any info?" The spy smiled and gave him a scroll which was full of information. "Yes, it's about Princess Lokov's past and the conspiracy, and these are other info which I have collected over the years." Liam asked as he started looking at the scroll, "What is with the prince? Is he really that weak?" The spy shook his head and spoke, "Nope, I guess every one of us was fooled when we were traveling. It seems this is his body double. I only realized it now when he was fighting with our men. He is quite a strong man. It seems Prince feared mutiny in his army and hence escaped with his knight on his own." Liam nodded and understood. "It seems we underestimated the prince. Okay, tell me what you got to know about the conspiracy." The spy slowly narrated the conversation and the murmurings that he heard previously at the castle and underground. Liam smiled and spoke, My, I wonder how would Lokov react if he gets to know about King's direct hand in her killing." "Okay, we are leaving, take the prisoners with us." Ed asked as everyone finished their enemies. "Where are we going, boss?" Liam smiled and spoke, "To meet Lokov." Ed asked as he couldn't remember and asked, "Who is Lokov?" Liam slapped his forehead and spoke with a sigh, "Prince Lokov." Ed scratched his face as he thought, now this is confusing. I don't think we ever had any connection with Prince Lokov." Liam spoke, seriously, prepare a letter and prepare our best scout to deliver it. Meanwhile, try searching for Prince Felix, he wouldn't have escaped a long distance. Chapter 229. In the castle, a lot of soldiers were fiercely fighting against Prince Lokov and his men. There was no morale among the soldiers after not spotting their commander for a long time. While Prince Lokov had just killed their temporary commander in a duel previously. Prince Lokov was in full black armor with a cape which seemed to be filled with runes. He had bow at his back while at the same time he was equipped with a red blood sword which had become quite rusty. But looking at the sword you can feel that it had its will. He slashed the commanders without any sweat. It seemed as if he was releasing his anger which was bottled up years ago on this battlefield. Without using the magic he was easily able to slash the commander. The commander was shocked that Lokov was easily able to block his attack. How is it possible? I am one of the top 30 men under Prince Felix. I guess he never told you about me. Why do you think he trains every day and still fears me? A mere ant like you dares to fight against me. Without using any magic, he used his red blood sword to reap the life of commander. The already losing morale of the army faced a complete collapse when Lokov easily killed most of their commanders when they invaded the castle. Lokov commanded, "Go and search Felix. 100 gold to anyone or their team who is able to find that bastard. I don't want any delay. I want him alive. That fucker ain't getting an easy death. After him next will be David." A lot of his own soldiers feared getting near him but still followed his orders without delay as they knew his personality when he was angry. "Yes, sir. On our way." After finding no resistance among the soldiers, he left the army in Duncan's hand. Lokov murmured as he observed the situation and finding that his men weren't able to find Felix, he murmured, "It seems he has escaped." Looking at the morale of this army. It seems he didn't intend to fight me when Radiant Church was busy. Coward as always. Well, Liam is still there to catch him. At this time, Duncan, who was managing the men, got a report from his scout who was sweating profusely. "My lord, we got a message from source code Elm. It seems the codes are matching. They have contacted us after quite a few years. What do we do?" Duncan nodded as knew what source code Elm related to. He murmured a bit and spoke, "It seems Liam has finally made his move. Give the letter, you can leave. No need to concern yourself with this letter." The scout nodded and left. "Okay, my lord." Duncan took the letter and was quite shocked as he read the details which explained the conspiracy of the Radiant Church, Prince Felix, and King Lionheart that took place 7 years ago. With a serious face, he thought, "It is as I feared. I guess Prince would attack the capital immediately if he hears this out. However, it would be futile against those Dragon Knights. We need a better plan. I will delay this news until Prince calms down." Duncan called subordinate and immediately gave orders, "Round this up and immediately set up a meeting." Before going, the scout reported, "Lord, before that, it seems they are going to visit us." Duncan understood and spoke, "Okay. Make preparations immediately. Meanwhile, I will be meeting the Lord. Is there any news from Giorgio?" The scout gave the emergency message from Giorgio. "Yes, there is. Check this letter out." "I can't read it." Duncan read the letter, understood the whole situation at North Frontier. With a shocked face, he exclaimed, "Whoa, it seems this count is even more aggressive than what he looked like. This is a perfect opportunity for us. Lord will be a lot more happy to hear this news. We need to use this well." He sighed and left to wrap up this battle. "It's good that we had a good relation with Count John. This easy battle was thanks to his expertise in ballistas. It seems he planned his moves for a long time, keeping the royal family in consideration. Good foresight. I wished Prince had such a man under his wings 8 years ago. Maybe we would have been able to save both of them if he was present to deduce the intentions." He sighed and left to do his duties. Currently, Liam was at the castle, which was currently occupied by Lokov and his men. A lot of men from both the sides were confused at their arrival, but it was all soon solved by Duncan, who knew the matters at hand. Liam spoke as he entered the hall which was prepared for him by Duncan. It seems you still haven't changed one bit. However, I still don't understand you. Sometimes you would kill without flinching while sometimes you wouldn't even spare soul. Duncan flinched his brows as he heard Liam, just as he was going to speak. Lokov stopped Duncan and spoke as he signaled the servant to prepare the red moon wine for everyone present. It's been a while. It seems your men are doing quite well to be equipped with those armors and weapons. So how did you fare for the last 7 years? Liam thought nostalgically as he spoke. Nat, these weapons were provided by Count John. I heard he has created quite a big commotion when we traveled here. He would have created a ruckus anyway since the royal family fears his rise very much. As far as the last 7 years are concerned, I believe it was hard but certainly worth it. However, we did manage to fool everyone in the kingdom for the past 7 years as I started this mercenary group from scratch. It was good the Radiant Church or the royal family didn't notice our collaboration. Did you get my letter that I sent you previously? I sent a lot of information on it which concerns your past. One of my spies infiltrated Felix's army for a long time to get this information. Lokov asked with a confused expression, which letter? Duncan immediately came and gave him the letter. It's this letter, my lord. We just received it. I was going to hand it to you immediately but Liam arrived here at the castle as we finished cleaning up the aftermath of this battle. The lords here are all killed. Duncan sighed as he gave the letter to Lokov. When Lokov started reading the letter, he unconsciously leaked his aura and killing intent which seemed to oppress everyone in the hall. Even Liam, who is quite used to killing intent, felt a bit nerved after observing it. Lokov immediately roared after fully reading the letter which was related to the previous conspiracy. They dare conspire against me so blatantly. It seems they really don't love their lives. So it seems that bastard father on mine and David were behind all this conspiracy. I won't placate my anger unless I have their heads. Immediately ready all of my armies. We are attacking the imperial capital. Duncan asked, my lord, what about your oath to your mother? Lokov couldn't contain his anger anymore and roared, fuck that oath. They dare manipulate me and take an oath from me after that night? That night, 2 lives were lost, one my lover and other my child. Do you think I have been chasing Felix and David for no reason all these years? They will know that even heavens would make a way in front of my revenge. If the gods come in my way then they too will pay the price as well. These debts will be repaid and if it means breaking my oath, so be it. No one spoke until Lokov calmed down as they were afraid if it will only anger him. Liam knew that Lokov would be quite angry but Lokov had to know this. Liam too was shocked as he heard that Lokov was going to be a father 7 years ago which was never revealed until now. He asked, you were going to be a father? Now it makes all more sense that your father and David would go to such lengths to kill her. It seems they feared to get a half-demon royal heir and their personal prejudices. Duncan knew that Lokov won't change his mind as he gave Giorgio's letter to him. My lord, why don't you calm down for a moment and read this? This time we can actually pull out something since the royal family are facing something which can't be reversed. We need to fully ally with John. You will understand after reading this info which we received from North Frontier Town. Liam signaled Ed to bring in the person that was captured for Lokov. What do you think about this guy? This guy was a double of Felix for quite a long time. He may have some information which is related to Felix. Lokov coldly looked at the double but after calming down in a while, he spoke in a cold tone, waste, kill him if he doesn't have any use. Get all those officers from Felix's army to be publicly violated and kill them by cutting all the body parts one by one. Not a single officer in Felix's army should feel safe even when they are away from us. They must understand the consequences of working under Felix. As far as other soldiers are concerned, kill all of the 20,000 soldiers publicly with any torturous method you guys might be interested. I hope this news reaches Lokov's men and all the other lords. As far as attacking imperial capital is concerned, we are still attacking them. Just with a change in plans. And yes, spies of Lionheart will face the same fate as those officers. Those spies in the royal family will think 100 times before spying on us. Liam, for that spy of yours, you can reward him handsomely on my behalf. His information has been helpful. So how did you get acquainted with John? The double spoke hoarsely as he heard Lokov's ruthless order, Lord, please forgive me, I will speak. As long as you spare me, I will also reveal all of his scandals which can be useful to you. Liam nodded and ordered Ed to take back the double and other guys who were captured. Liam nodded his head and spoke, I guess it was a coincidence, I got related with him when I was trying to get information from the Radiant Church and their movements. It was also so that I can dupe the Radiant Church at the last moment as they are short on men because of their involvement in East with Fjord and North with the royal family. This time, the royal family and the Radiant Church had deployed together. I think they had an agreement regarding this invasion but got a bloody nose. I guess a lot of heads will roll after this fiasco. It was quite wonderful watching the spies of royal family getting killed one by one in North Frontier City. I guess, the royal family never thought that most of their spies were under observation from the ghosts. Well, it's the case for most of the spies at North Frontier City. No, it's the Sky Kingdom now. Duncan sighed and wondered, this is bad. I hope Felix gets caught or else this will be a mess. Duncan was curious about Liam's operation this time around and asked, how were you able to kill the reserves of Felix without getting any major damage, because I know that Felix's men are not something which we can joke about. Liam smiled and spoke, well, I conned them simply when we meet them. I poisoned them in the name of a banquet, while my men had taken an antidote before the banquet, so it was not a problem killing them and disposing of them. I was quite cautious this time around when I targeted Felix. It seems he was quite scared and hence left on his own. Duncan nodded and understood. He asked, this time there are a lot of suspicious movements from General Irwin and the Radiant Church. Do you have any idea? He is not someone who likes to take defeat lying down. Liam shook his head and spoke, I don't know about them since most of it is secret. Not even the officers know about Irwin's plan. I guess he simply bowed to a bigger power this time around. Those cannons are a horror for his men, even Irwin himself was injured with his short sword this time around. But I heard that Duke Norman has started invading the northern wildlands near other borders on the suggestion of Alistair. This has also been seen by my men. At the same time, they will be pursuing diplomatic measures to get back Dolores and other areas of Baron Mendes. I wonder how would he tackle this? Maybe they will deploy Dragon Knights, but they would be cautious since the Fire Abyss Kingdom is looking at their movements. Lokov nodded and thought as he felt nostalgic, it seems those downgraded ballistas were still useful to them. I guess Alistair is doing well with his strategies. Liam thought and spoke, there is another news that the royal family is preparing their navy to sortie along with Fjord. They have sortied most of their warships this time around. It seems this is due to dwarves who are preparing to invade the Northern Sea. I don't know what is going on in the Eastern Seas. Lokov shook his head and spoke, no, I have a gut feeling that this is related to John. I guess it will be revealed soon. Liam saw Lokov, who has changed a lot since that incident when Apophis died, and the same Duncan who was still loyal to him. Meanwhile, Prince Felix was in rugged clothes with his knight as he watched the talisman of the commander which dissipated. As I thought, there was mutiny. It's good that I left. Let's go. We are heading straight to Radiant City and take shelter from David. The knight nodded and spoke, yes, I will immediately prepare for our departure. 8 years back in Radiant City. Like usual, Lokov was practicing his swordsmanship with his men with a serious face. General Bruno was sparring with Prince Lokov as he was preparing for the upcoming competition. Prince, you look quite happy, did something happen recently? Chapter 230. Prince Lokov smiled and spoke with a lot of enthusiasm when he remembered the swordsmanship of the other guy. Yes, I was able to comprehend the Sword of Thorny Paths. I had this skill for a long time, but there was no success till now. It was only yesterday when I got some inspiration regarding it when I saw someone else's swordsmanship in the arena. I wonder who was that guy in the arena. Bruno was quite surprised as he too tried the technique but was unsuccessful as it needed a threshold in strength to practice it. He asked Lokov, "Who was it that attracted your interest, my lord? I don't think there is anyone in the kingdom who can compete with you when it comes to close combat." "Well, it is true when it comes to your age group." Lokov smiled and thought about the fighter he witnessed. "Well, I don't know about him. I will again check him out today when I go to the arena." "Yes, let immediately go there, the arena matches will soon start. Today I will be taking part in it. Start preparations." Hearing him, Duncan nodded and started the preparations. "Yes, my lord." At this time, an arrogant Hector who was in his teenage came in with Alistair to meet his brother who was training previously. Hector asked as he watched both of them training, Alistair, who do you think is more powerful? My brother or General Bruno?" Alistair looked at both of them and honestly gave an answer, "It's Prince of course. Prince has been unrivaled since he was a child. He has no rival at his age." Hector nodded and asked another question, "What about Felix and Lokov?" With a dilemma, Alistair answered smartly with furrowed-up brows and a smile, "Now that's difficult to judge. I guess that will depend on a duel between them." Watching Lokov not paying attention to Hector, he roared at Lokov, "Hey, where are you going? I just arrived right now. You were supposed to train with me. Don't tell me that you forgot already." Lokov smiled as he saw Hector's grumpy face, "I have made a special appointment today. I need to leave. You should go and play with other brothers and sisters. I am busy these days." Without even listening to Hector's reply, he signaled Duncan, Bruno, and left for arena again. Hector thought and asked, "Now, I think something is fishy, he wouldn't be in a hurry unless it is important. What do you think, Alistair? Do you think father called him up?" Alistair thought and spoke, "True indeed, he would usually cancel his appointments if he had to spend time with his other brothers. I guess something important came up. From his excited look, I guess it is related to military or special techniques. Prince has quite an interest in impressive techniques, so that's my guess. Just recently he mastered royal family's three-point slash. Maybe His Majesty has called him for his previous achievement." Hector nodded and asked, I guess that's true. How much time do you think I will take to learn those techniques and be as strong as my brothers, Felix and Lokov?" Alistair acted as if he didn't hear him, but Prince Hector shouted as he ignored him. "Hey!" Alistair spoke with a sigh as he had no choice, "I think it is very hard to calculate your potential, my lord. I think only your other brothers can judge your potential. I don't think a nobody like me can judge you." Hearing their conversation, Charlie came in with a smile and spoke with a mocking tone, "You and strong? Don't daydream. That butler of yours is simply buttering you up so as not to offend you. As far as strength is concerned, Lokov is hella stronger Felix. Even a duffer will know about this fact. He will most likely inherit the throne. The only plus point for Felix is that he is engaged politically and militarily, which is why most of the lords and generals are supporting Felix. But most of the guys anyway fear Lokov's strength and hence avoid offending him in case he decided to engage politically or he holds a grudge to get rid of them in future." With an angry tone, Hector asked, "Why do you think Lokov is stronger? They haven't fought yet. And how would an illegitimate bastard like you know anything about them? Both of them are most likely hiding their true strengths. You have just arrived and don't know shit." Hearing Hector, Charlie spoke with a mocking tone, "Why do you think they haven't fought yet? Most of the lords fear that the duel will expose Felix's true strength and hence avoid this topic. Most of the lords have seen Lokov's real strength. Meanwhile, brother Lokov doesn't feel the need to prove himself as he is always striving to get stronger." Felix, who was about to enter the hall, stopped as he heard the conversation between Hector and Charlie. He was already in a bad mood because of the gossip from ministers who were talking about Lokov's previous achievement in the war where he single-handedly fought the demon general, Wrath in West. He angrily spoke as heard them, "Lokov this, Lokov that. I am fed up of this comparison. Do they think that only strength is important? As an elder brother, I should inherit the throne and still father, and all of those all fogies are delaying this matter. I will teach them what is strength. Strength of my conspiracies. I am not his older brother for no reason. With a dark light in his eyes, he left for the training grounds. Felix's butler too shivered as he heard Felix, who was leaking out killing intent. Let's leave. Yes, my lord. Alistair was alerted a bit as he sensed killing intent, but soon relaxed as the person leaking the killing intent was not directing it towards the princes and had left immediately. Alistair sighed and thought as he saw Felix's butler, I guess this will end up in a bloody struggle for the throne. It's good that Prince is still in his teenage, or he would have suffered. At the arena. Before entering the arena, Prince Lokov smiled and spoke to Bruno. You should bet on me already. The guys will be happy to have a feast on our earnings. Bruno scratched his head and spoke, You jest, my lord, how can I earn this way? This is dishonorable for a knight. I will rightfully earn it on the battlefield. In his mind, he thought, of course I already bet on you. Why would I want to miss this opportunity when the odds are 10:1? Prince laughed as he left for the arena where multiple fights were taking place. Dishonorable. Bullshit. You love money more than anything. Prince Lokov was keenly watching the arena as he prepared for his fight. It seems I have to fight that oversized guy. Where is that guy that I saw yesterday? There he is. It seems he will have a hard fight. Anyway, let's focus on this big guy here. I hope I can get a few more things on his thorn technique. The guy being watched sensed that Lokov was watching him, but he shrugged and focused on his own battle. Prince Lokov was in a disguise as he was fighting his opponent, who was twice his size. The oversized man looked at Lokov and spoke with a mocking tone, Ha ha ha, I guess you are quite desperate since you have chosen to come here and earn money. However, it is your unlucky day. You should surrender before the bets start, because I haven't left any of my opponents alive till today. It is different for knights to come here and sharpen their blade, and it is different for skinny guys like to enter. You see, I have quite a grudge on you pathetic beggars, because of whom I ended up here. Previously I was a knight, but who knew that just for killing a commoner I would be indicted here? However, when I spoke about others officers doing the same, I was simply ignored. Suddenly a gong was heard which signaled the start of fights in the arena. The announcer spoke, I hope everyone here has made their bet. We should enjoy today's feast. The oversized guy immediately charged at Lokov, who was focusing on this match. Lokov simply dodged his attacks at first so as not raise suspicion on his abilities. While doing this, he was quietly observing the guy from whom he got the inspiration for Sword of Thorny Paths. Lokov saw him and murmured as he simply dodged the attacks of that oversized guy, that guy is quite agile, but his aura is quite messed up. I guess he is a vagabond. The oversized guy was quite angry when he saw that Lokov wasn't even paying attention to him and was simply dodging his attacks without any intention to attack. Lokov saw that the guy had finished his opponent with the same move as he did yesterday. The guy had used his saber as some dark and fire energy engulfed the saber and attacked immediately. His opponent was killed instantly as there were some sighs in the crowd. One of the guys in the crowd spoke with anger, Damn it, I saw him yesterday as well. He looks frail and weak, but he always finishes his opponent in one stroke. Next time I am betting on him. Don't even try, that guy has different moods. Sometimes he would surrender without a reason and leave the arena. Betting on him is like betting on a going to north from the seas. Looking the guy had finished his opponent, Lokov smiled and used his own sword technique, two-step sword. The oversized guy was horrified as he looked at Lokov's killing intent. Okay, I will ask one time only. Who were the officers that killed the commoners? The oversized guy laughed as he heard Lokov. Why, you want to kill them? They would simply squash you. Your puny attack won't work on them. They work under Prince Felix and other lords. If you leave me alive, I can speak more. Without waiting for him to finish, Lokov slashed his neck without even using any magic power. Lokov cleaned his sword as he spoke. It's good that I met you here. Lokov thought as he killed the guy, it seems Felix is quite bad at controlling his officers. Apophis, who had just defeated her opponent, noticed that Lokov was continuously looking in her direction. Creepy guy. But he is quite strong. He is hiding a lot of his strength. I guess he just came here for fun. These days King Lionheart was quite happy as he got to know about Lokov's duel with Demon General Wrath. He thought as he read the recent reports, it's good that Lokov is strong, however he is very naive when it comes to politics. I guess this is good as it balances the power between Felix and Lokov. At this time, Ianred was in his chambers with King Lionheart as King Lionheart asked him to do a prediction on his future. Ianred sighed as he saw King Lionheart's cheerful face, such amount of resources. Reckless as ever. Lionheart scolded in a happy tone, start the ritual, damn old men. I am rarely this happy. Ianred nodded and signaled his disciples to start the ritual. He sighed and spoke, I guess this can't be helped. Okay, start it. Follow my orders precisely. The same goes for you, Lionheart. Yes, Master. Lionheart nodded and signaled his agreement.